The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Please say good morning. I'm such a huge fan. I thought of him immediately when, as they say, the election year stunner, which I don't think it was the election year stunner. I think it's really predictable. Neil Abercrombie, the real Neil of Hawaii, ousted on Saturday in the Democratic primary. Please say good morning. Welcome back to the radio show. I'm a huge fan of Jack Cashow's. Jack, good morning.
Hey, good morning. And to lose the way he did, I mean, he got drubbed. I mean, was it 66-31 or something? I mean,
67-32.
67-32.
Yeah, they clipped him.
And this, in the midst of a rebounding Hawaii economy, with a budget surplus.
Yeah.
So,
it's really interesting because I'm a full-blown geek birther. That Hawaii, which is kind of the epicenter of anything about Barack Obama's true life story, and I know you remember because we worked together on this one, how the real Neil literally, I'm not figuratively, but literally lied again and again and again, trying to prove that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii, which is, it's coin's always in the air, but all the things and promises and lies he told, including how he had actually seen the happy little family together.
right.
Jack, it's a lie, a total lie.
Right, and it started with an even more pronounced lie, in that he said he was there. He was the only one who was there at the birth. Well,
Yeah, he was there, right. He was in the room.
Then he quickly sort of transited down to he saw the mother and father with the baby at various social events after the baby was born.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, one-time cab driver, and that's nothing wrong with that, but how he saw them together socially, not just once, but many times.
Multiple times, despite the fact that, as we know now, that
she's gone.
That she was in Seattle and Barack Sr. was in Hawaii.
She chogied, man. She left when that little baby was 10 days of age, one way or the other, maybe 12, maybe 9. She's in the wind. She's in Seattle. She's enrolling in university. But Neil Abercrombie saw them.
Yeah, he saw them, and then he gets caught again on another story, and this involves celebrity broadcaster Mike Evans, if you remember this. And I believe Evans interviewed Abercrombie, I think it was on the inaugural day in 2009.
Yes, indeed.
And then, so they had that as the background. And then Abercrombie, at some point, according to Evans, tells, in fact, that's when the inaugural interview is when Abercrombie started spinning his stories of how, he was the John the Baptist to Obama's Jesus.
Yeah, sure.
But then Mike Evans comes on the air several years later and claims that he talked to Abercrombie, and Abercrombie said that he looked for the birth certificate in Hawaii and could find it no place.
Yeah.
And he said that on something like 30 different radio.
He said it on a Clear Channel outlet. That guy used to run on my friends Lewis and Florwax, and Mike's off right now. But Rick Lewis, they have a radio show on 103.5 The Fox, and that guy appeared. And because they knew him, I got his phone number, and I had him on Brand X where I met you, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said he told me that he looked high and low. And he couldn't find a birth certificate for Barack Obama. Then he began to deny and lie, and they pushed that guy Jack Evans into a corner. And Evans was jeopardized by that.
Right. He said, he comes out, Evanson comes out and says that he misspoke on this one radio station on which he was reported. That was in Minneapolis. But then other radio stations across the country come in and say, "Hey, you misspoke exactly the same way."
He said it on Fox. He said it on Lewis and Florwax. I mean, there's no question he said it. He said, "Yeah, Abercrombie told me he looked high and low for that long form hospital generated birth certificate and never could find it."
Right. In the meantime, and the other angle on this is this guy Brian Schatz, who I haven't seen the final results. That he probably pulls out his Senate primary in Hawaii. Have you seen the results of that?
No, I have not.
Okay, Schatz was appointed by. What's interesting about this race in general is that Daniel Inouye, on his dying wish, appointed this other woman, or wanted this other woman as congresswoman to take his job as senator, but instead Abercrombie appoints his and Obama's butt boy, Brian Schatz, which upset people. And Schatz, the last reports I saw, they still haven't counted all the votes, it was very, very close. And his primary bid continue as a U.S. Senator. But he was involved, and you'll have to look this up. The details are a little bit murky. He was the head of the DNC in Hawaii, and Obama had to come back to certify his officials, what do you call it, certificate of nomination. And I used the dying grandmother as the ruse, and apparently met with Schatz, and they got that taken care of. And then next thing you know, Schatz is getting appointed lieutenant governor, and then he's getting appointed U.S. senator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from out of nowhere. And his, in a very unusual move, Obama weighed in the Hawaii primary on behalf of Schatz.
Yep.
He also weighed in on behalf of Abercrombie.
Yes, he did. He cut a radio spot for Abercrombie, and he said he used this Hawaiian term for family, and his ad said Abercrombie is like Ohana to me. Well, a lot of Ohana good that did him.
Right.
But
yeah, maybe there's like a double meaning to Ohana that Obama didn't know.
But sidebar to that, as you know, Barack Obama comes here, and to give support to Mark Udall won't even show up. And, it was really fascinating because they did it in a city park, Cheeseman Park, it's a little beautiful park in the center of the city, and they put up fencing around the park to keep people out. And I said, now they'll fence off Cheeseman Park, but won't fence the border off.
Right.
I mean, and they had like a select bunch of butt boy media people come and meet him. And then he went out and drank beer, and he shot pool with the governor, John Hickenlooper. Oh, and Udall wouldn't even show up to get the money at the private get-together, but he brought the money. And Abercrombie welcomes Obama, but what choice does he have? Because he's laid down for Obama since the guy emerges on the scene, does he not?
Oh, sure. I mean, his whole run for governor was based to a large degree on his historic friendship with Obama's father,
absolutely.
Which is real. I mean, he knew Barack Obama Sr. I mean, we'll give him that.
Yeah.
But he has so thoroughly identified himself with Obama's fortunes that when those fortunes turned, I guess they turned for Abercrombie as well. I mean, sitting governors don't lose that way. I mean, unless you're caught with like a dead boy or something. I mean, it's they used to say a dead girl or a live boy, but a live boy doesn't even count anymore in Democratic primaries. So.
Well, I mean, where's the birth certificate was a huge part of this, and I read the Hawaii blogs, because I got nothing else. I got to get a life. But what I'm fascinated is, there was all this talk on the blog sites about, that this guy just simply flat out lied again and again and again and again for Barack Obama, who, by the way, his popularity is not that great. And I've been reading about they want to build the presidential library in Hawaii. I've heard they're going to build the presidential library at Occidental. Who the hell knows? It ought to be interesting. But the fact that, by the way, and I want to have you talk to that, the mainstream press, Jack, has stayed so far away from this, and it's a big story. It's a huge story.
Yes, yeah, you're right. It is, and I watched. I saw a minute of it last night on Fox News, but otherwise, you wouldn't have known.
You don't know, and so how much of this, and if you read the blogs, how much of this is set out because of the, how much he did lie, and he hasn't faced election since his lying began about offering, this amazing set of lies for Barack Obama. How much do you think played out in him getting dumped?
I have a feeling that what we've seen a glimpse of the real Abercrombie through our own opening, and that is his role with the birth of Barack Obama. I suspect other Hawaiians, Democrats wouldn't have been troubled by that, but they probably saw that same person operating in similar ways in different venues and came to the same conclusions that you and I would have if we were there. Vote for the other guy, whoever.
Full circle back to now Neil Abercrombie, who is now a lame duck. The guy, there is no question, this guy absolutely flat out lied about things that he saw or things that he didn't see pertaining to the life of Barack Obama, including that whole Jack Evans scenario. He says, I couldn't find a birth certificate. Then they threatened Evans. I had Evans on a radio show saying that he saw the Obama family Stanley Ann was never Stanley Ann Obama. Now, Barack Obama could or could not be Barack Obama, but Stanley Ann was never Stanley Ann Dunham, or excuse me, rather Stanley Ann Dunham Obama, because, best of my knowledge, you got to marry somebody before you take their name.
Right, right.
And she never married him, and he never announced, he never, just the whole thing was just really, really sad.
Right. I mean, if they had a relationship at all, it probably began at closing time and ended as soon as Barack Sr. sobered up.
Yeah, or whatever. But it isn't.
And by the way, he pronounced his name Barack.
Oh, of course.
Now, why that's important is because in Dreams from My Father, Obama, has this epiphany where he decides to go African and use his African name. Mm. And someone says, "Why don't you?" Someone says, "Can I call you by your African name?" He says, "Only if you pronounce it right."
Yeah.
Barack.
Yeah,
no,
right.
it's
well,
Barack.
No, but he was. That's right. That's right. That's right. The old man was the other. I don't know. Like I said, let me ask you a final question, Jack. Do you think? Because I believe the time will come. It's almost Shakespearean. The truth will out. Will the moment come when finally Brian Williams reports, "Gee, that story we've been telling you now for 8 or 9 years simply isn't true"?
That moment will never come because they never apologize.
Yeah, and it's one of the ways.
They never do.
It's one of the ways, isn't it? But one of the things that I talked over the weekend with one of the guys, and this is a heads up, you may already know it, one of the guys who's involved with Sheriff Joe. Now, this is, do with that as you may, that they think they have identified the forger who made the birth certificate.
Yeah, well, that would be that. We've heard this and the other thing from that source, but they need at this point to move that story.
Yep.
They would need something that dramatic, not only identify him, but this guy messing up and showing exactly how he did it.
The guy.
And even then, do you think they covered that on the news? I doubt it.
Well, I call him Jimmy down the hall, the kid who manufactured, who was so politically correct that he couldn't say Negro or black or colored. He had to say African. And there is no such race as African. Jimmy down the hall made that birth certificate, and according to, now this is all subterfuge and probably, I don't know, is it true? Hell, I don't know, but that they think they can identify Jimmy. So, ain't going to mean anything. You're right. It'll bounce off of everybody.
It'd be good to get him out from down the hall and out in front of the cameras.
We'll see.
What happens.
We'll see.
Okay.
It's like looking for deep throat. Thanks, Jack. Jack Heschel.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.